This podcast is part of the It Was a Thing on TV podcast network.
And now, a dramatic reading of Steve Cohen's tweet from last Tuesday's Mets-Dodgers game, read by Hulk Hogan.
No one likes to lose, but I saw some green shoots tonight. Why are you booing me? I'm just reading what Steve Cohen said. On offense, Lindor had 2 hits, including a home run. Why are you booing a home run? I don't get you Mets fans. Bichette got a double, hitting it to left field, as opposed to recently being right field prone. Bench got a solid hit too. Soto started his running progression today. You're booing running. What type of fans are you? Semien had hit a shot that might have been a home run on a warmer night. I tell you where I'm at, it's really warm right now. I'm sweating down here, brother. Finally, Nolan McLean pitched an outstanding game going 7 innings. Hang in there, fans. I'm just the messenger. Don't boo me, brother. That's it.
That's it. Hey, at least you didn't get suspended for calling David's turns and telling him to lay off the coke.
Hey, Steve Cohen can still make ads and make video phone calls over Facebook. So do you.
Theme song.
An anthology on the bad, the short-lived, and the forgotten shows and events in television history. You are listening to It Was a Thing on TV.
No, that's it. I'm not modeling anymore for the two of you. Well, I guess I just have my first taste of the filthy side of this business. Need I remind you, sirs, I am a male model, not a male prostitute.
Episode number 625. Submission number Pie. Ha ha ha, Pie. Pie in the Sky. Pie in the Sky was a pilot for NBC that was recorded on July 22nd of 1984. And we'll put some Earth, Wind, and Fire music in here.
Before our show, John Crump, Allison Pine, and Tim Baker each took a different test made up of 30 questions. What they have in their hands now are 12 of the questions they got right, because those are the only questions they can use to stump their opponents while they make their way to the Pie in the Sky. And here's the host of Pie in the Sky, Bob Darwin.
Among game show fans, one of the most popular game shows of all time that didn't last terribly long is the title we talked about on episodes 31 and 310. Phew! This show, Pie in the Sky, was essentially a reboot of Phew, but it combined something that became really popular right around this time in 1984. A certain board game from a pair of Canadians called Trivial Pursuit. That was the big thing in 1984. I remember my family, specifically Dad, had to get a Trivial Pursuit board game, and we'd play that everywhere. We'd play it at Christmas, we'd play it at Thanksgiving, we'd play it whenever we had some sort of family occasion back in 84, 85, 86. Jay Wolpert, one of our favorite producers on this podcast, he took the Phew concept and combined it not necessarily with the Trivial Pursuit concept, but with the key mechanism in Trivial Pursuit, the pie, and the different wedges. In this game, as you heard in the open, 3 contestants. They had a stack of 12 questions apiece out of 30 that they got right on the test before the show. Those are the only questions that they could ask to the 2 other opponents to earn wedges. Again, another little Trivial Pursuit thingy here. To earn these wedges on a wheel. What would happen is they would wager how many different wedges, 1, 2, or 3, they'd like to bet based on how likely their opponent is to get the correct answer. So you bet 1 if you think they're going to get it, because if they get it, you don't want to give up too many wedges. You bet 2 if you think, yeah, there's like a 50-50 chance. And you bet 3 wedges if you're like, this is a stumper. I knew this, but I'm sure this person doesn't know it. If the challenge contestant's right, they get these 3 wedges, and they light up on this wheel, a 12-wedged wheel. If the contestant's wrong, the challenging person gets those wedges. If the challenge contestant is right, they keep control of the game. If not, the person who originally asked the question now has to ask the other opponent a question, and again, wagering 1, 2, or 3 wedges. Ultimately, the end goal is the contestant wants to spin this wheel and land on a lit wedge. And they can spin at any time. If they want to spin with 1 wedge out of 12 being lit, they can. It's not a good probability. That's like 8%. Not really a worthwhile investment. But if you have, let's say, 8 or 9 wedges, 8 wedges is 2/3 of the wheel that's lit up. That's better than 50-50. That's pretty good odds. 9 out of 12 is 75% of the wheel. That's really good odds. If you spun the wheel and you did not land on any of the red spaces, you lost 2 red slices, 2 of the earned slices, and those 2 would be split up among the opponents. They'd each get 1. So there's a little penalty if you're wrong. You just can't freely spin. You lose 2 wedges. Your opponents each gain 1, so that increases the probability of winning. Once somebody hits a red wedge after all the spinning, they get $100. The idea is to get 2 rounds to win. However, if you see this, and I guess this was written on the fly, there were 4 wheel spins in the first round, and I think a number of them, there were like 8 wedges lit. So there's 2/3 of the wheel lit. They spun it, didn't land on a red wedge. You got to give up your 2 wedges, and your opponents each get 1. Another spin, similar probabilities. Repeat 2 more times, failure. I believe this is written in because, again, you don't expect to have 4 missed spins in a row, and time's running out. So they went to a tiebreaker, a spin-off, where basically you just kept on spinning until somebody hit a red wedge. And I'm going to assume if multiple people hit a lit wedge, then you have a spin-off from there. You know, whoever fails, as long as the other person spins a red wedge, that person wins the round. This continues for a second round. If there's a tie after 2 rounds, the player who didn't win a round was gone, and the third round was played by just the 2 winners. Now, in this round, there isn't any challenging between the contestants. The host asks the question. We haven't even gotten to the host and the announcer. You heard the open. You can guess who the announcer is. And surely, I'm going to keep the name of the host in the open so you know who hosted this as well. So the host asks the questions, and a correct answer earns the player 4 slices. This is a quickie round. None of this 2 wedges or 1 wedge stuff. Nope, 4 wedges, and they're given the opportunity to spin. If they got an unlit wedge, they lost 2 red slices to their opponent. And again, whoever hits the first red wedge of these 2 combatants wins the game. They get $200 and a chance to go to the bonus round. And the bonus round, and I say this as, I'm going to say, a long-time statistics teacher. I've taught it for 6 years. So yeah, that counts as a long-time statistics teacher. The bonus round is a giant game of probability. You have this wheel that is standing vertically. It's not horizontally like the Wheel of Fortune. It's actually standing sort of like the big spin wheel. There are 72 wedges. Not unlike the Wheel of Fortune. That's got 72 wedges. This one's broken up a little differently, though. There is one little tiny wedge. So imagine if you spin the wheel and on that first spin, you land on the $1 million wedge, that little sliver of a wedge on Wheel of Fortune. If you do that here, land on that sliver of a wedge, it's worth $50,000 in cash. However, sort of like Wheel of Fortune, on either side of that little wedge that's worth $50,000, there's game over. Darkened wedges. And then opposite the $50,000 wedge, the grand prize wedge, 180 degrees away, is another instant loss wedge. The rest of the wheel, you have 34 wedges on each side of the wheel. They're symmetric, but they have 3 different sizes. The smaller the wedge, the higher the reward of hitting it. Like, the biggest wedge on one side might be worth, let's say, some bicycles and $500 in cash. Then the next biggest one is a better prize, maybe a TV or a VCR, and $1,000 in cash. And the smallest wedge in size is worth $1,500 in cash plus another prize. Repeat it for the other side. Another $500 and another prize, another $1,000 and another medium level prize, and then the smallest wedge, $1,500 and another decent prize. So right there, there's $6,000 in cash plus 6 prizes. It's a good little haul if you're lucky. Because again, as I said, this is a game of probability. Do you want to... Oh, excuse me. I know who announced this, but I think it needs to be said. Do you want to press your luck and go for more prizes, or do you play it safe? Anytime you spin the wheel and you hit a wedge, that wedge is then taken out of the game. So to start, you've got 69 good wedges.
Nice.
I want to see if Greg is paying attention. I see him smiling. He's got a smirk on his face. He paid attention there. So thank you, Chico, for filling in the gap there. So as I said, there's 69 good wedges and 3 bad wedges to start. But depending on where it lands, you're going to lose that fraction of the wheel. It could be a big portion if you hit one of the big wedges with $500 in a prize. You lose that, and you lose a big chunk of the wheel, but the rest of the stuff that's on the wheel is pretty decent, besides the one $500 space on the opposite side of the wheel. So every time you spin the wheel, your probability of succeeding goes down. But also at the same time, the number of prizes you win goes up. So there's a lot of risk there. And if you land on a black space, you lose the game. You don't lose the prizes, though, but you do lose your cash. So there's a little risk there, but at least you're getting some reward. Maybe you're not getting the cash, the $6,000 or $5,000 or whatever, but you get to keep your prizes. And that could be a nice little take for a day. So I talked about the host and the announcer. The announcer was Rod Roddy, who was kind of busy at this time. He only had a little show called Press Your Luck on CBS. Oh, Press Your Luck. Again, another show of risk and probabilities, trying to avoid a bad outcome, we'll say. The bad outcome being a certain red devilish character.
Who's this red devilish person, Mike? Bizarre whammy. The red devilish person is you.
Look in a mirror. You're red. You sort of have a devilish character. We know who your father is.
Hold on. We need to speak to the whammy whose balls haven't dropped yet. Hello.
We can speak to the whammy whose balls haven't dropped yet, but unfortunately, if what he says doesn't get picked up in our conversation, it's going to be edited out. Good luck there, whammy whose balls haven't descended yet.
Hey, screw you, buddy! That whole fucking thing stays in, damn it. Now you see the real whammy, he's like somewhere, I don't know where he is. He's probably somewhere in California, probably at a poolside with lots of ladies by him.
Oh no, Greg. The real whammy, in case you didn't hear, they're recording in Atlanta this season. So he's in Georgia. Yeah.
Ooh.
So you know what the whammy's doing in Georgia, Greg?
Oh, he's probably golfing with Chuck.
Well, that's a good answer. I was going to say he's eating either peach pie or pecan pie down there, keeping with the pie theme. But actually, I think we all know where the whammy went. He had to have gone to the varsity. No, Greg, even better. Forget the varsity. You know where the whammy went.
Where'd he go?
To Magic City to get some of those lemon pepper wings.
Oh, yeah, we got to ask him next time he shows up about the lemon pepper wings at Magic City. If they're as good as Booger McFarlane advertises it as.
Well, not just Booger McFarlane. Don't forget Lou Williams.
Oh, Lou Williams, he loves the wings at Magic City. He left the NBA bubble to get some of those Magic City lemon pepper wings.
Also, just a word of warning to our listeners. Do not Google Magic City at work. I would even probably suggest not to Google it at home either, but you make your own decisions. You're all adults, I think. So we had Rod Roddy as the announcer, but the host, I do believe this is his first hosting gig. The first of several. We're talking about Bob Goen. You may remember him as the host of Wheel of Fortune on CBS back in the late 80s and early 90s. He also hosted the Home Shopping Game, good heavens, Born Lucky, double good heavens. He was a GSN host for a while. And I do believe he's touring with Wheel of Fortune Live now. So you can go see him, when he comes to your town.
But also, remember, we did cover the Hollywood game.
Oh, we did cover the Hollywood game. I forgot about that. I mean, there's a lot of games that he did that I'd like to forget because they weren't really all that good. Perfect Match. That one was basically just a ripoff of the Newlywed Game. And I like Blackout.
I do.
Blackout was a decent enough game. It's just, you haven't replaced Pyramid, which is a tough task in and of itself. But then 13 weeks later, it gets replaced by Pyramid. Which begs the question, why didn't they just keep Pyramid on for another 13 weeks instead of doing a whole new show?
Well, Crystal Bernard was on Blackout, and, it did help pay the rent.
Well, Greg, Crystal Bernard had to find a way to make a living. Even though she wasn't on with that title. She was on when it was It's a Living, but the joke still stands.
Hey, Mike, life ain't the French Riviera. It ain't a charity ball.
Why do I see Paul Kreppel at a piano playing and singing that? Darn it, Greg. So we had Bob Goen hosting, and we had Rod Roddy announcing. And obviously this didn't get picked up. There's speculation that this may have been competing for the noon slot on NBC. Because at this point, Hot Potato would have gone off the air not that much before this pilot was recorded. Because I think Hot Potato lasted until June of 84. And I do believe Super Password started, I want to say, September of 84. So maybe this was in competition for the Super Password spot. Sorry, you're just not beating any Password, especially Password with that cool futuristic set. I mean, that was a great set for 1984, and the game changes were for the better. And of course, you also had Bert Convy, Mr. Potato. Just giving away clues left and right.
But you know what? We love Bert.
Bert was a character. Some interesting little tidbits about this pilot. As you heard in the open, if that theme sounds familiar, that is the instrumental song Rock That by Earth, Wind, and Fire. So surely if this made a series, somebody would create a knockoff, unless Jay Wolpert felt like paying Earth, Wind, and Fire money for that song. But also, the contestants. All of the contestants had backgrounds on other shows, including one that's an amazing discovery. We'll get to that in a little bit. You had a contestant named John Crump, who was a contestant on Press Your Luck, oddly enough. So there's the Rod Roddy connection. You had a contestant named Tim Baker, who was on Match Game Hollywood Squares Hour.
Now here's the host of Amazing Discoveries, Mike
Klaus.
All three contestants, John Crump, Alyssa Vine, Tim Baker, they have something in common, believe it or not, and it has to deal with another game show. All three of them were on a pilot for Trivia Trap. Since Greg sort of reacted there, I'll repeat it again. All three were on the same pilot for Trivia Trap. Not separate pilots, not regular shows. They all took part. Of the 6 players on a Trivia Trap pilot, they were 3 of them. How coincidental is that?
That's also weird considering Trivia Trap was a Goodson joint, and this is a Jay Wolpert joint.
It's coincidental, but also at the same time, maybe the contestant coordinator for both shows were the same. And I'm going to guess the pilot for Trivia Trap was done before this pilot. So maybe the contestant coordinator for Pie in the Sky said, hey, we have these 3 people on the Trivia Trap pilot, and Trivia Trap got picked up by ABC. I don't remember when Trivia Trap started, but it started around mid-'84. This new show just got launched. Let's bring these 3 people aboard to do this pilot. It's conceivable. But just what are the odds? All 3 contestants on this pilot were also the contestants on another pilot. Oh, and I don't even think I really got too deep into the few connection. Because I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I said, this is kind of sort of a reboot of Few, kind of sort of. All the questions that were asked were in blooper form. So there was one key word which had to be replaced. So it wasn't just straightforward questions and answers. So an attempt was made to bring back Few, which again is a favorite among the game show community. If you want to see this pilot, rejoice, there's great news. If you go to the Game Show Vault channel, formerly Wink Martindale's Vault, the pilot is there. It was uploaded onto the Wink's Vault page on January 4th of 2022, which was in tribute to Jay Wolpert, who had passed, I believe, the day before. I think he passed on June 3rd of 2022. There's also another place to find it on Web Archive. You go to where you want. I know there's animosity with the Game Show Vault and some other sites, but there's one on the Game Show Vault. There's also one on Internet Archive. Have fun with that. Did you guys, by chance, see this?
I saw it, but I found it incredibly difficult to follow along with, which is probably why it didn't get picked up, because one of the best game show formats in the world. Simple games played simply.
Well, I don't think it's overly complex. Yeah, you're wagering these wedges, and then you're taking a chance at spinning this wheel. Maybe there's a few too many pieces and parts. Maybe it's just Jay Wolpert being Jay Wolpert. He definitely likes creating games where you'll eventually get it if you watch enough episodes of the series. But it seems invariably enough episodes of the series to understand the show means it's off the air by that time. Speaking to you, Hitman. Speaking to you, Blackout. Just saying. But I do think there's an interesting game there. And again, trying to kind of sort of shoehorn a Trivial Pursuit-ish type of game, kind of, sort of, I think is ambitious, especially for this time era. 1984, Trivial Pursuit is the hottest thing in games. Everybody's playing it. You've got Trivia Trap. You've got Jeopardy starting that year. Trivia is now not just something geeks do, remembering useless stuff. Everybody's doing it. Or at least everybody is doing it starting September of 1984 when a certain game with Alex Trebek came back on the air. If nobody else has anything to add, I think we're done talking about Pie in the Sky. What can we say about Pie in the Sky? It was a Jay Wolpert pilot, so it was probably a little on the convoluted side. But an attempt was made to bring back Few 4 years after it got canceled. And unfortunately, really outside of like the Rodeo Drive bonus round, we've never had anything kind of resembling Few, which is a darn shame. And alas, NBC said no, and Pie in the Sky became just a thing on TV. You can find us at our website, itwasathingontv.com, on Facebook at It Was a Thing on TV podcast, and elsewhere at It Was a Thing on TV. You can find us on any podcast player, and we're also on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with our releases, including what's coming up next time. We're going to talk about a game. Hey, speaking of games that may have been a little convoluted, but also maybe too smart for its own good, we're going to talk about one. We're going to talk about a game that is basically just a bunch of puzzles. There's sight puzzles, there's word puzzles, there's all sorts of different puzzles. And I'm not going to say the name of the game, but it has to do with puzzles. But also, it's one of the earliest hosting gigs for somebody, and by no coincidence, the host of these pilots, we're going to talk about two of them, this was one of his early endeavors, and speaking of 1984, the year we're talking about regarding Pie in the Sky, 84 was a pretty darn good year for him and for his show, or maybe I should say shows, because he did have two versions of the same show on the air at that time. What are we talking about? Guess we'll find out Friday. Right here it is, a thing on TV. Thank you always for listening. Thank you to Chico. Thank you to Greg. And we will catch you here on Friday with that puzzling episode.
Wow!
Let me warn you all of something. We can only have 4 unsuccessful spins in any one round. We've already had 3. If you should be unsuccessful on this spin, we'll have to go to a spin-off to determine our winner, and we'll deal with that if and when we get to it. Good luck. Big spin, Allison. Here we go. Looking for one of those 7 red slices. Need a red slice. Need a red slice. Allison.
I have no luck.
I know,
okay?
it's not your day.